Hi, and welcome to the module on the customer flow. So in this module, I'll just be explaining about what is a customer flow, and then what is the ISAC customer flow, and in particular, what is the customer flow that's used for seen through OGX and for youth, and then understanding how OGX fits into the customer flow and works throughout the customer flow, and then what a standard operating procedure is and how OGX fits into this. So a customer flow is essentially, it's a process from through where customers they move through a process from stranger all the way to customer and becoming a promoter of whatever product, brand, or service that's being provided. So the customer flow represents the journey that customers do go through from when they hear about the organization to when they experience it to when they advocate for the organization afterwards. So this customer flow can generally be seen as a funnel, where at the very beginning, a lot of people tend to hear of an organization or a brand or a service or product, and it attracts everyone. And then as you go through the funnel, less and less people actually experience the product, the service, the brand, and so it's like a funnel where more people do go through that customer flow and experience and go from being a stranger all the way to a promoter. So when it comes to ISAC, there's various stakeholders that we work with. When we look at the OGX side, so outgoing exchange, there's ISAC as a sending entity and ISAC as a hosting entity, and then there's the youth that we send on exchange, and then the organizations that we work with for exchange. So within Australia, we focus a lot on OGX, and especially with OGX, we look at ISAC Australia as a sending entity and the youth as our customers. And we work with a hosting entity overseas where they work with the organizations, such as schools, startups, NGOs. So when it does come to the ISAC customer flow, there's 4 different phases. And what these are the attraction phase, consideration phase, value delivery phase, and brand advocacy stage. So at the attraction phase, it's when there's a young person or organization who's actually attracted to the brand, and they get that interest of what it is that they're seeing, and they want to sign up for more information. A consideration phase, this is where the customer or the youth or student organization is more engaged with the lead, and then they start thinking more about actually becoming a customer. At the value delivery phase, this is where they become a customer and they're actually experiencing what that product or service is. In the case of ISAC, that being exchange. And then at the brand advocacy stage, it's where the person or the organization advocates for the brand and through what they experienced. And so when it does come to this, this is the customer phases. And then when we break it down and understand the customer profiles behind each stage, at the attraction phase, we see a lot of strangers and visitors. So these are people who've never heard of ISAC in our context. They've never engaged with us before, and so they hear about us, and then they start to get more interested and start to engage with what we do. And then, at the consideration phase, they become a lead. This is where they've actually signed up to our database, our system, ISAC.org, and they've shown interest in what we offer through our product. So in this stage, this is where they start applying for projects, having interviews if needed with other entities, and then at value delivery, this is where they officially become a customer of ISAC, where they've paid to actually experience what outgoing global volunteer, global talent, or even global entrepreneur is. They participate in the product. And then at brand advocacy stage, this is where they become a promoter, where after experiencing the product, they become that promoter and promote the brand to other people afterwards. And then when it comes to youth in particular, as mentioned before, when they sign up as a stranger or a visitor, they're known as an open in our context. This means they've left their information on ISAC.org and waiting to be contacted. And then in consideration phase, when they're a lead, this is when they've actually applied for a project as well as been and also been accepted by a project overseas. So these are people that we these are people that the OGX team would actually be funneling through that customer flow and actually ensuring that the projects that they're applying to, they're getting accepted to, and then when they get accepted, they actually become a customer and go into that value delivery phase of becoming approved and realized. Where as youth, this is where they actually do certain things, where they sign that note, sign the contract with us, and pay the admin fee, and that to officially become approved, and then become realized by actually going on exchange and experiencing what their project is or internship. And then at the end, when they finish their experience, or they start to become, they start to enter the brand advocacy phase. And in order to become a complete and a promoter, filling out surveys and closing off the experience to ensure that they've had that had a good, satisfying experience, and they can advocate it onwards. Yeah. So when it does come to the customer flow and the different customer profiles and phases, there are key performance indicators, conversions, and process times which are seen throughout each stage. The key performance indicators for each phase is, at the attraction phase, it's the number of opens that we generate. So this is something marketing works marketing works heavily on and is focused on, and OGX supports marketing in this area. In the consideration phase, the KPIs are applicants and accepts. So this is where OGX starts to take over, and this is what OGX is responsible for, where they need to be ensuring that we're funneling people through that customer flow and actually having them become applicants and become accepted. And then when they enter the value delivery phase, this is where they start to become approved and realized. So in these are key KPIs. And as well, OGX is heavily involved here, as this is where we start to actually provide that service for the customers. And then in the brand advocacy stage, the KPIs are finished and the number of completes. This is where OGX needs to work on ensuring that the finished exchange participants become completes, as well as working with marketing to ensure that they become brand advocates. And then between each of these stages, between attraction to consideration, within the consideration, and between consideration to value delivery and value delivery to brand advocacy, there's conversion and process time as well. So we need to work on having a higher conversion. So the more people who are signing up to become an open, we're converting a higher percentage of them to actually become applicants, and then accepted and approved and so on, all the way to completed. And in the same way, we need to ensure that the process time is fast, so that when they sign up, we contact them quickly, and they're actually funneling them down the customer flow quickly, rather than waiting a month after they signed up to actually contact them and have them become an applicant. Doing it within 24 hours so that the interest is still there. Yeah. So when it does come to the customer flow, this is the customer flow for ISEC for all our stakeholders, for youth, for the home entity, the hosting entity, and the organizations in the context of ICX. So this is a lot, but then when it does come to OGX, what we do, we focus purely on the home entity things, where this is what we do in terms of ensuring that we're providing the right support, the right materials, the right marketing, the right value for our customers, as well as looking internally. We focus on the home part of the customer flow and work with the youth part of the customer flow. Yeah. So, like I said, with the home, this is very heavily involved in what we do as ISECers to bring customers through that customer flow from attraction all the way to brand advocacy. So that's so when it does come to OGX and how OGX fits into the customer flow, what we actually do. So there's the attraction phase where we work heavily with marketing. Marketing is responsible for the attraction phase, and OGX works with marketing to support marketing in the physical and digital marketing activities that are happening. And then when it comes to consideration and value delivery, this is where OGX is the final responsible. OGX is responsible for ensuring that we're actually contacting opens and having them become applicants, having them move down to become accepted and approved, and then when they go on exchange, ensuring that we're actually providing those standards and looking after customers until they finish their exchange. And then when it comes to brand advocacy, this is where OGX and marketing need to work together again, where as OGX, we need to ensure that those finished exchange participants actually become completed by filling out surveys and ensuring that all those standards are fulfilled. And then marketing is working to collect information and content from these finished exchange participants to actually ensure that they are becoming promoters and spreading that word of what they just experienced. So, as before, with attraction, how OGX fits in, we support marketing. So how we can actually do this is that we can attend those marketing events that are being organized by marketing to actually reach out to more people. One of the key things that we should be doing in this attraction stage is promoting our international relations partners. So for ISEC in Australia, this is Taiwan, Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, and Romania through all our communication channels. And the reason we promote them is that we know with these partners, we have a partnership with these entities. And if people are applying to these entities, we can ensure that there is a faster process time and a higher conversion rate. So then when it comes to consideration, OGX is heavily responsible here, and we need to be working with marketing. We need to understand how is marketing attracting those opens, and then using that information to understand as OGX, this is how we need to funnel those opens through. So we're responsible for guiding those EPs through that customer flow, running consultancy/coffee chats with EPs. So giving that like a half an hour chat to have with an EP to show them what ISEC offers, answer any questions that they may have. Working with those product packaging, so we've created product packages with all our entity partners, so making sure we're communicating this and running any information sessions. So when it does come to, one thing to keep in mind here, when it does come to customers who've just signed up, it takes up to about 7 to 11 interactions with the product to actually make that decision of they're going to pay that admin fee and commit. So keep this in mind and have that plan of, okay, this is the type of customer I have, this is what they want, how can I utilize the interactions that I have with them to ensure that they are making that decision to actually go and exchange afterwards. And then when it comes to value delivery, again, this is where OGX plays the key role. We need to ensure that we're working with our hosting entities, the projects that the exchange participants are going on, and ensuring that exchange participants are having all 16 standards are being delivered. This is because by delivering all 16 standards, this is how exchange participants can actually develop that leadership that we actually promise. And then while they're on exchange, we need to be supporting EPs either virtually and ensuring that they're okay and that any issues that do arise are being managed. And then also working with those EPs to get them to share what they're going through with other exchange participants or even with ISEC in Australia as a whole. So yeah, one very key thing is, as obvious as it might sound, stay in regular contact with the exchange participant while they're on exchange, and not only that, stay in regular contact with the hosting entity that they're going to. So by doing this, we know if for some reason the exchange participant can't reply, we know the hosting entity is aware of it as well, and they're looking after, or if any issues that are happening, we can hear both sides and make sure we're supporting and sorting it out. And then when it comes to brand advocacy, for OGX, we don't play a big role here. Our biggest role in this area is ensuring that those exchange participants are just filling out their surveys, and then also putting them in contact with marketing so that marketing can actually collect content from these completed EPs to promote their experience. One other thing that OGX will do here, though, is that we will close off the EP's experience to ensure that they've had that full journey. So one thing here is that we can support marketing in collecting any materials such as photos, videos that we can utilize for marketing content in the weeks after to send even more people on exchange. So that's the customer flow, and that's how OGX plays a role in the customer flow. And not only OGX, that's how OGX works with marketing as well throughout. Yeah. So what is an SOP? So a standard operating procedure. It's a simple set of step-by-step instructions in order to help employees or volunteers or people who are doing the work understand how to go through the routine or go through the process. So the purpose of an SOP is that it aims to achieve that efficiency, that quality, and that uniformity in the performance, so that people aren't just doing the different things all over the organization or the entity, but there's one clear thing that everyone should be doing, and people are building on top of this. So with an SOP, what it allows for is that by having more efficiency and more effectiveness, we can have faster and clearer processes that everyone can understand, no matter how new you are or how many times you've done it. And then because of this can allow for a better experience. And then by allowing for a better experience, it can allow for more customers, and in turn, more customers, which leads to more lives changed and more leadership experiences developed. So when it comes to OGX, the product as a whole, this is the customer flow. So it goes from stranger all the way to complete. So what it goes from stranger to open to applicant to accept to approved, approved to realize to finish to complete, and then after completed. So when it comes to this is a standard operating procedure, and there is one that's currently around for the entity. And it's something that we continuously build upon every time we understand what's working, what's not working, rather than creating something brand new every single time. So this is just a very, very concise version of what that SOP is. In terms of how this will work, especially for OGX. For OGX, what we're responsible for is that we're responsible for this, what's highlighted in green, that open to applicant to accept, and the entire rest of the process from accept to after completed, sorry. So we need to there is a lot for us to manage. However, being aware of what needs to be done, we know if that's the reason this standard operating procedure exists. So because of that, we know exactly how we're meant to do things between each stage. So if we have a customer, if we have, for example, 4 customers who are applicants, 1 who's an accepted and 1 who's realized, we know how to manage each one of them because it's very simple, it's very clear based on this SOP. So that's how the SOP for OGX works. There is a version online as well, which will be shared with everyone in the entity. And if you do want more information for it, or even you can ask your VP. Yeah. And so that's a customer flow, the customer flow for OGX, and also the standard operating procedure for OGX. Thank you for watching the webinar, and all the best. Thanks.